Hi guys, welcome back to MassiveSynth.com tutorials. This is part 4 in the Psy Trance feature we've been doing this month, and in this tutorial I was going to show you how to make a pad sound that has plenty of kind of modulation, plenty of movement in it. So let's start off by creating a new sound in Massive, go straight for the oscillator section, and on oscillator 1 we're going to have a digigrain 2 waveform. Going to keep the wavetable position all the way to the right. Going to actually change it to bend minus and keep the intensity on full and the amp on full. We're not actually going to be using any filters for this sound. We're just going to be routing the oscillators straight to the output via the effects and envelopes and stuff, so we can just ignore this filter routing section here. Turn on oscillator 2, take the pitch down by 1 octave and make this a digigrain 2 again and keep it on spectrum. Oscillator 3, going to make this a digigrain 1 and actually going to take the pitch up by +8 semitones, which has given us that chord-like element to the sound, which is pretty cool. Going to make this a bend plus, take the intensity down a little bit and maybe take the amp down a bit as well. Next up we can move over to the voicing section. I'm going to increase the voices to 6. Turn the pitch cutoff on and pull the slider down to around halfway. And it's obviously too extreme as it is like that, so let's change this amount in here to 0.22, which gives us a more subtle effect. And let's change it to chord as well. Turn the wavetable position on as well. We're going to be modulating this, so we'll leave it as it is for now, and turn the pan position on, and let's move this amount somewhere between mono and full to spread those voices out. And I noticed when I was putting this sound together with the wavetable position on, quite cool, that slider moving up and down, so we're going to modulate that with an LFO shortly. Let's move over to the amp envelope next and just back the attack off a little bit. Now let's move over to envelope 1 and start modulating some of these parameters to get some movement in our sound. So holding down shift, click and drag the crosshair of this first envelope and drop it in the modulation boxes for all the wavetable positions of the 3 oscillators, and drag the amount, click and drag down to drag the amount, so we've got this blue bar going in this direction. And now this first envelope is modulating these wavetable positions. So to get that sweeping kind of effect, let's back the attack off, push the sustain up, now we're getting that nice movement in the sound. Check the trigger 0 reset box, so the envelope re-triggers with each new key that we press. And next let's move over to this noise section down here, put a bit of noise in the sound and just kind of boost up that top end in there a little bit. So turn the amp up for now. And that's probably a little bit too much with the white noise, so change it to bright noise, which is a bit of a thinner kind of noise. And notice also to increase that sweeping effect, the colour of the noise. Sounds quite cool when you do that. So I'm going to modulate this colour with this same envelope that's modulating the wavetable positions, so drag it over here, click and drag down, so got something like that. So we could actually add even more movement to the sound here by modulating the amp of this noise. We could use an LFO to do that. So let's move over to this first LFO slot here, click and drag the crosshair, this LFO, over to the amp section of the noise. We can click and drag up So we've got a full modulation amount now. And let's control this LFO a bit more by syncing it and taking the ratio down to 1/8. And maybe take the amp down. Next, let's dial in some effects with the sound. So first up, we can have a dimension expander and just pull the dry, wet and the size down a little bit. Pull this master down a bit. Next, move over to the second effects slot. Let's put a reverb in here. Pull the dry, wet down. And maybe push the size up slightly. Let's turn the EQ on, and I notice another thing to further enhance that kind of sweepy, to further enhance the movement in the top end. Could actually modulate this high shelf with this same LFO here. So click and drag the crosshair of this LFO over to the high shelf slot. Click and drag up. And so we've just got quite a subtle modulation amount going on here, but just quite nice, gives us quite a nice kind of movement on that top end. Okay, let's move over to this second LFO slot here, and I was actually going to use this to modulate the wavetable position here in the voicing section. Drag the crosshair of the second LFO, drop it in the wavetable position modulation slot, and click and drag up. So we've got something like that. And we don't really need to do an awful lot with that LFO. I thought just leaving it unsynced and with the rate halfway, it sounded pretty cool. Just one final thing with the sound was just to add a little bit of vibrato here. And that's finished our sound off, really. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. I hope you found it useful. Any questions, then please get in touch, and thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon. Cheers. Bye.